I'm really stingy with 5 stars for fantasy books. I know it's just the way I am, but here are my top 5 fantasy reads of 2022. Hey everyone, my name's Amanda and I'm the Fun Size Reader, and I dreaded this video just as much as I dreaded yesterday's video. Picking my top 5 for fantasy romance is so difficult. It's really, really difficult for me. But here's the fun part is that I have less to choose from because I'm stingier with my 5-star reads. So there's way fewer of them in fantasy. Romance tends to be easier for me to just I don't want to say throw 5 stars out, but I give more 5 stars out than I do for my fantasy books. I had 5 options. However, ranking them was not easy. I feel the same way as I felt yesterday of am I making the right choice? Did I make the right decision? Was this the right scoring? I don't have, like I said, check boxes of what constitutes 5 stars. It's all a feeling. It's if I was obsessed. It's if I loved the book. It's if I love to recommend the book. So here we go with number 5. Number 5 was Savage Lands by Stacey Marie Brown. This is not the whole series. I did not give every book in the series a 5. I gave the first book a 5. And I stand by the fact that this has been my favorite book of what I've read so far. I thought this series started off with a bang, and the others have been consistently higher. I always at least liked them from what I remember. The first one, so unique, so fun, so addicting, tension, just everything that I wanted in a fantasy series to start off with a bang. No pun intended. There are a lot of explosions in this series. But like I said, I would love to see this on screen. And that's kind of how I read the book. The movie that I saw in my head for this book was so clear. I loved it. It was a different premise, that dystopian, but also fae. So kind of real world, but there's magic, and it was really unique and fun, and I liked it. And I loved the side characters too. There was a little comedic relief in there. There was just a lot going on with this book that I did really love. I still need to finish the rest of the series though. Number 4 is Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. This book was just so good. I couldn't put it down. I could not stop reading this book. I literally just don't know what came over me. It just kept page turning. But it wasn't the type of book that was suspenseful, cliffhanger chapters. It wasn't like that. It was just that you were so immersed in this story. It was so atmospheric and just so beautiful. And you had some predictions, and then everything that I predicted was not what happened. Some of it I predicted, but the main thing was not what happened. And it just sucked me in. The romance was really good. I did really like it. It was a second chance, but the romance was not the main thing. It was kind of side by side with the murder mystery. And I thought it was so beautiful and so well done. And I love Adrienne's writing. She's just such a pure storyteller. And that's what this book was. It was just a pure story. Number 3. I can't tell if I'm going to get shit for this because of who wrote this book and that they're number 3 on my list and not number 1. I don't know what's going to happen. Okay. I don't know. But here it is anyways. Number 3 on my list is House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. If I were ranking the first one, I feel like it would have been at the top of my list. I loved her first book. I really loved this one too, but if I'm comparing the two, I loved that one more. Okay. So I think that's why this one came in as a 3. I thought it was amazing, but there was just something about it that didn't have the same spark as the first one did for me. I'm not talking the shocking ending. I'm not talking about that. Obviously, that was shocking, but I do not star rate or judge books just based on the last thing that happens. So many books are that way, and they leave people off with this like amazing feeling at the end, and then they get higher ratings because of that, because you were left off amazed. But sometimes you have to still take into account the whole rest of the book. And so I think that's what happened for me here. Still loved it. Absolutely loved it. Crescent City is my favorite series that she has written thus far. Absolutely amazing. There are elements of this book that just, But there were also things that were a little bit more played up that I cared less about than I did in the first book. I still think everyone should read this, but please, please, please watch my Sarah J. Maas reading order video. Do not just jump straight into Crescent City, even if I say it's amazing. Oh, also, it's the signed version. I haven't read it. It's barely been opened because I don't read the signed versions. Number 2. Number 2 was hard. Between 2 and 1, I had a hard time, but I have reasons for what I did. I may have lumped books together for number 2, okay? I lumped them together because they're all part of the same series. And I rated multiple of them 5 stars. 2 also has a subcategory because I'm going to tell you which one has been my favorite of them also. If you haven't guessed it, I am talking about Zodiac Academy. Zodiac Academy comes in at number 2. I rated many of the Zodiac Academy books with 5 stars. Not all of them, but many of them. Pretty much 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 all got 5 stars from me. And that is purely because of how freaking addicted I am to this series and these characters and how emotional they make me feel. But the reason this didn't come in at number 1 was because I do feel, and I have said very blatantly, that there are chunks of some of the books that I feel like are just kind of fluff and play around and don't really have anything to do with the story, but they get you to know the characters. So like, I like them, but they're not necessary. And because I feel like there's large parts of the books that aren't necessary, I can't put it as number 1, even though it does partly rip my heart out because I love them so much. Between the ones that I gave 5 stars, which one was my favorite? It's such a hard question to answer. I'm going to go with my gut on this one. The one that I really, truly enjoyed the most, that I think had the fun banter, that you were still waiting for relationships to happen, still had enemies to lovers, still had lots of secrecy, was number 3, The Reckoning. I think that one was my favorite. It was before things started getting super dark. We were still having fun. We were still having a good time at Zodiac Academy, but still having some bullies. It was like the sweet spot, right? We got our powers. We passed our tests. We were allowed to be here. Like, it was my favorite. The Reckoning, I think, was my favorite. Too much devastation happens in the later ones. Like, those give me some emotions and I freaking love them and they get 5 stars from me. But like, I like the happy times. So yeah, I think number 3, The Reckoning, is my favorite, but I've given so many of them 5 stars. I needed to lump them all together into one Zodiac Academy category, and it sits at number 2. And the last book, which I think was my favorite fantasy book of the year. Feels so weird saying that because I just read this book. Like, I just read it. But the amount of emotions that I felt reading this book and how much this book just gripped me, and I just want people to love this series and love these characters, and how much I just felt like the whole of emotions in my chest and my body like physically reacted to things that happened. I had to choose it at number 1. I had to. And that is A Light in the Flame by Jennifer L. Armentrout. It's not just Daddy Niktos that I love in this book, you guys. It's not just Daddy Niktos. I love Sarah. I love Nektas. I love the Reaver and Jadis. And there's so many characters and relationships that just make this book whole and complete. And I feel like it is explained so well and just done so well. And there's elements that she put into this book that just literally broke my heart. They broke me. To have those reactions to only a book too, it had to be number one. It had to be. A Light in the Flame. If you have not read A Shadow in the Ember yet, I'm begging you, what is stopping you besides me talking about being so upset and feeling all these emotions? Read it. Well, you had my top 5 romances yesterday and my top 5 fantasy romances today. That's it. Those are my favorite books of 2022. It feels so weird to be saying that because I'm still reading and 2022 still isn't over. But some of these, I don't know if what I have planned is going to kick them off of the list. Like there's not that much time left. There's a lot going on, a lot of videos left to record. So I don't think that anything is going to kick anybody off the list. If it does, obviously I'll tell you guys, but doesn't look like it as of right now. We only have a couple days of Bookmas left. It's crazy to think about that. There's only a few days left. So make sure to stay tuned for the rest of the videos, especially if you're doing the read along that is coming tomorrow. Hope you guys have been having fun and I can't wait to talk to you for the rest of the week. Don't forget, you can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at The Fun Size Reader. See you guys next time.